Trauma Therapist Podcast, episode 353. Welcome to the Trauma Therapist Podcast. My name is Guy McPherson. My mission is to raise the awareness of trauma and to help support and inspire new trauma workers through this podcast and my membership community, Trauma Therapist 2.0. Thanks so much for joining me today, and here we go. All right, guys, welcome back to the Trauma Therapist Podcast. Very excited to have a Trauma Therapist 2.0 member, Tammy Hatherill, on the podcast today. Tammy, welcome.
Thank you, Guy. Thank you so much. All
right. So Tammy is the director of Tammy's Tarot and Healing and the newly formed Holistic Health Services. She's a well-known clinical and neuro hypnotherapist, psychotherapist, Tarot and Reiki Master teacher, and is the creator of the revolutionary Reiki Chakra Cards. Tammy enjoyed sharing her spiritual and therapy knowledge with a regular radio segment on 104.1 Territory FM Australian radio. She now continues to spread the word through her podcast channel on iTunes and Libsyn. What's the name of your podcast?
It's Holistic Health Services NT, and awesome. There's another one called Tammy's Tarot and Healing.
Awesome. All right, Tammy. Well, welcome. Thanks so much for being here. Share with the listeners where you're calling from and where you're from, and then let's dive in.
You might be able to tell from my accent that I'm calling in from Australia, and I'm at the very top end of Australia, so Darwin, and it's hot and humid up here.
Wow. Okay. So, one of the things I've been doing is bringing on Trauma Therapist 2.0 members to share their journey, what they're doing. Because I remember before I even started the podcast and the membership community, I just remember commuting, thinking about clients, wondering why people weren't listening to me, thinking to myself, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Where's community? But anyway, I just wanted to thank you for coming on here and sharing your own passion and your own expertise, and I'm excited to dive into it. But let's start out. Share with our listeners, how the heck did you get into this field? What pulled you or compelled you or propelled you to do this work?
It's been a journey, that's for sure. I've always been a compassionate feeler. I've always been a feeler my whole entire life, but I've been through post-traumatic stress, depression and anxiety myself through living the life of a prison officer. I was a prison officer, and I ended up having all sorts of dramas and concerns and issues with that, and it was my journey getting through that without really getting the proper help and the proper support and what I really needed. And through that, then I found the Reiki and the clinical hypnotherapy, and I thought, I'm going to actually learn this and do this myself and actually start helping other people. So through helping myself, I've now learned how to help others, and that's really how I got to where I am today.
Wow. So let's kind of go back a little, because I want to kind of pull some of those details out. So you were a prison officer. Whoa. Oh my God. That's
in a maximum,
God.
security male prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you get into that?
Oh, that's a story and a half. I went to university, and my study was justice, so I did justice, and I actually majored in intelligence and security, and I just did it because I loved all things legal. I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do with the degree, and I kind of just fell into it. I just fell into the prison work. I was 21 years of age, straight out of university into a maximum security male prison, so a bit mad, really.
Wow. So you talked about having PTSD. How long were you doing that work?
It was interesting. I was in the job, I think it was about maybe 6 or 7 years, something along those lines. And the company that I worked for, so it was a private prison, it wasn't a government-run prison, it was a private prison. They also had the contracts for the immigration centres, so all the boat people that come across illegally to Australia. The company also looked after the immigration centre. So I also worked as an officer in the immigration centre, and I was seeing riots, and I was seeing self-harms, and I was seeing hangings, and I was seeing self-mutilations. And like I said, I was 21 when I started, and I think I was about 27 or 28 when I got out, but I just hit rock bottom.
So you hit rock bottom, and then you got out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talk a little about the evolution or the unfolding of when you realize, something's going on with me. I need to get some help. How did that happen? How did you start receiving or getting help?
My whole personality was starting to change when I started working within the prisons and the immigration centres, and then my sleep was becoming disturbed. Nightmares were sort of a nightly occurrence. Even to this day, believe it or not, I still have a lot of nightmares, a lot of talking in my sleep and things like that. But it was how I knew that I really had a problem is I was working in one of the immigration centres in a whole complete different state to where my base was. And I'd been down there for about 10 months, and we had another riot, and I think it was the next day or 2 days later, I packed up my car and I drove out. For 3 days, I drove across Australia to get home. So I realised I had a problem. I needed to get out. I had to get out of there. So I didn't care that I didn't have a job to go to. I didn't care that I was almost abandoning my post, I guess you could say. I did let them know I was going, but I didn't get permission. I just left.
So when did you start, and when and how did you start seeking quote unquote help?
So when I got home, and at this stage, I think I was 27 or something like that. I went back to mum and dad. So I went back to base, and I just remember saying to mum one morning, I need to get help. I need to get help. This is not normal. And I'm starting to get quite emotional. Okay.
Now, use your own judgment here. If you want to back off, that's fine.
Yeah,
I just want to be very respectful of.
Oh, absolutely. This is a message that needs to get out so people know they need to get help. And it was just, I just knew I needed to get help. And so what did I do? I think I booked in for a doctor's appointment, and from there they referred me to a psychiatrist, and then counselling, and then it was all through that. Then I had to, I don't know what they have in the US, but we have what's called work cover here in Australia, and that's where they'll investigate, and if work is responsible for an injury, you get paid, even though you're off. And so that was a huge process because, of course, no one wants to pay out a sick and injured employee. So it was proving that it was everything that I'd seen and witnessed and been involved in. It was a long, drawn-out process. But, yeah, I was on leave for probably about 12 months, and the final result was I could never return to that type of work. So then I had to start rebuilding my life. And rebuilding the life was really hard because when you're disassociated and you're not feeling anything, it was tough. But I wasn't quite getting what I needed from the doctors and the psychiatrists and things like that. So that's where I found natural therapies.
So how did that come about? How did you discover those therapies?
In between all of this, and this is because this process has been over years, it's not been like 12 months, it's sort of been over years. So in between, I'd met my husband, and we'd actually moved up to Darwin, here where I am now. And I just walked into one of those crystally natural therapy type shops that smell nice. And I just said to the lady, just talking to her, I said, I just feel lost. I don't know what I'm doing. Because I was in and out of jobs as well. I just wasn't settling into other jobs, and I was just all over the place. And years later, and she said, oh, well, why don't you go and learn Reiki? And she gave me the name of a local Reiki Master, and I contacted the Reiki Master and I sort of explained a bit of my background, and I was feeling so lost and couldn't connect to anything, and that was the turning point.
Wow. And for just quickly and briefly, for those of our listeners who aren't familiar with Reiki, give us a kind of nutshell description of what that is.
So Reiki is natural energy. It's not massage, although some people confuse it with massage. It's still laying of hands on the body, but we're not manipulating the muscles. It's just energy. And so the energy brings you back to equilibrium.
Okay. So going back a little bit, Tammy, did you feel any stigma or shame in getting help, or feel, you're nodding your head?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Share what was going on with that.
It was a great source of shame. Like I said, I couldn't settle into any jobs, but I never actually told any of the jobs or the bosses or in the interview or anything like that I was suffering from post-traumatic stress, depression and anxiety, because I knew I wouldn't get the job if people were aware of it. And so not only are you trying to overcome the post-traumatic stress and the initial triggers and all things like that you've lived through, you're then overcoming the shame of it and trying to live normally with the initial problem, but also hiding the fact that you actually have a problem. So it was a hard time.
Mm. So talk a little bit about the point where, either during or during or after your own healing process, you decide, you know what, I want to start helping other people. I mean, to me, that is just such an inspiration. How did that come about for you?
It came about, and I'll never forget it. I'd started yet another new job, and I didn't like the job. I couldn't stand the job, but it was paying the bills, and I was still in my probationary period. And they actually came to me and said, look, we don't think you're working out for us. And I went, yeah, well, I don't think you're working out for me either. So it was another job where it was just like, I'm so sick of dealing with people that are just arrogant, that just don't get it, that just treat people badly. And it was funny because Alex is my husband. We just went to South America then. I think we went away for about 4 weeks. And when I was in South America, I had this epiphany at one of the pyramids, and I just went, why don't I do what I love? I love my tarot reading. I've been tarot reading, like I said, I've always been a sensitive person, so I've been tarot reading since I was about 18 years of age. I've learned the Reiki in between all of this as well. And I said to Alex, I said, why don't I just start up my own business and really help people, because then I can be the boss that I want to be, but I can help the people that I want to help. And it was just, I guess, losing yet another job, and I just went, right, that's it, I'll work for myself.
Well, so who were and are those people that you wanted to help? Who are your peeps?
But peeps have changed from then to now, but at the time it was just mainly women. I just wanted to help women with self-esteem issues that have been through trauma, that needed direction and guidance. Being a woman myself and having been through all of that, that was my target market. Now it's changed because my business has grown substantially, and I'm now contracting out to government agencies. My target market is mostly men, and they've been really quite traumatized to the point that they can't work. And I've been down that road too.
Right. So mostly men. Why mostly men?
It's really quite interesting. It just seems to be what's coming through to me. I don't actually get a choice because I am contracted out to a government agency. It's just who comes through the door. So it just seems to be men coming through the door for me. And I suspect it's men because of the employment services that I'm working in. It's a big stigma for them. Mm-hmm. And so they can't work. They can't get jobs. Women... I don't really know. Women seem to be able to just I don't know if they just push through, or if the men are just a harder case for the employment services at the moment. I don't know, but it seems to be men.
This sounds like you're in this perfect position to help people. I mean, your own experiences seem so relevant, and you seem, Tammy, so able and willing to share from your own experiences, and you can be really helpful and compassionate for those people that you are helping. What's it like to have gone through your own experience and now helping other people?
It's absolutely fabulous, because I can be the proof that they need, the evidence that they need that there is hope at the end of the tunnel. I was only saying to a client yesterday, because I share, I don't cross too many boundaries, but I do share, and I say, I have been exactly where you are today. And look at me now, I'm complete and I'm whole. And mind you, Guy, as well, as you look at me, I'm 45 kilos, so that's 90 odd pounds, you guys do the pounds, lighter than what I used to be. I've lost a whole lot of weight as well. So I use that to help clients as well, to know that they can get on top of any issues that they're going through. So I use myself as evidence.
Wow, that's amazing. So how did you come to Trauma Therapist 2.0? How did we get connected? Talk a little bit about that.
It's a godsend, I tell you. Your Facebook group, your podcast, it really is a godsend. So even though I've been doing this work for a long time, in mindfulness, because I do a lot of meditations and a lot of that sort of spiritual sort of stuff, you're always looking at things through a beginner's eyes. So I think I must have just seen a post on Facebook, and I thought, oh, that caught my attention, and I clicked on it, and then I joined up something and was getting emails, and I thought, I really like this guy. I don't know, and I just, something drew me to you and to what you're doing and the message that you're getting out there, that therapists need that support and that connection, and I've joined up, and I love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. One of the things that I think is really just fascinating again is how, you're able to have gone through that experience. And PTSD obviously is no joke. I mean, and as you said, now you're still symptomatic to a certain degree.
Yes.
How are you managing on currently? What are you doing for your own self-care, whatever it is? I mean, if it's your own therapy or whatnot, what's working for you?
I actually write. I do a lot of writing, and that's how my books have come about. I don't know if I'm allowed to share that, but yeah.
So I do a lot. That's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of writing, and so this is my latest book, which is Trauma to Triumph, A Spiritual Awakening. So that I do a lot of writing. Writing gets it out of my system and gets it out. So that's first and foremost is writing, but I've become almost addicted to exercise. I love exercising. So going from being, over 120 kilos, which is 240 odd pounds in the US measurements, to someone now that's actually addicted to exercise, it just gets the endorphins going. And if I miss a day, I can really feel it. So exercise for me is essential. And just mixing with good people that understand, because a lot of people don't understand, and trying to fit into a group that don't understand you and trying to change yourself to fit in, and it does more damage than good. So now I just mix with those that probably more therapists than anything. My friends are a great bunch of therapists. So yeah, understanding people.
Thanks, Tammy. I just want to remind everyone that I'm speaking with Trauma Therapist 2.0 member Tammy Hatherill. She can be reached at holistichealthservicesnt.com. She's the author of several books, Trapped Behind Bars, The Diary of a Fallen Angel, Special Moments, and Trauma to Triumph, A Spiritual Awakening. I'll have all this listed up here at the show notes page at the traumatherapistpodcast.com. So the Trapped Behind Bars, that's kind of an intriguing title, given obviously your background. Talk to us a little bit about that.
That was written directly after I got home from the immigration centre. When I hopped in my car and I drove across 3 states to get home, for 3 days I drove, and I started seeing the psychiatrist, I started writing. So that is a very, very, very raw account. You can feel the emotion in it. It was just everything just came out. So that was written back in 2003 when I escaped. I call it an escape. I escaped the immigration centre.
What would you say to people who are working in that position? I mean, and what would you have done differently? Talk a little bit, because I'm not familiar with that position. I mean, I from the outside, yes, but obviously I don't have that experience. But talk a little bit about maybe what you would have done differently. Is there anything you could have done differently? And I'm just wondering if this would be useful for people who are in that position.
Absolutely. I would not have gone in at 21 years of age. Definitely would not have gone in at 21. Going in at 21 and being a maximum security male prison, I mean, I was dealing with rapists and murderers and the worst of the worst. It was pretty silly, really, looking back on it. So I would recommend, even if I wasn't very mature in hindsight, just with childhood stuff and all the rest of it. I just wasn't mature enough, really. But even if you're a mature 21-year-old, I still wouldn't go in that young, first and foremost. I would also recommend that there's a culture within officers, and it's the same with police, I believe, that an officer that needs help or says that they're suffering, there's stigma with that. Mm-hmm. I say, don't worry about the stigma if other officers are giving you a hard time because you're brave enough to say, hey, I'm not coping with this. You've got to look after yourself, because so many officers, including myself at the time, didn't want to say, this is affecting me, this is hurting me, I'm suffering. Did
you share it with anyone else, any of your colleagues?
No. Yeah. No. It's like you suffer in silence. Mm-hmm. You suffer in silence, because the moment you say, oh my God, this is not good. Actually, I tell a lie. I did tell somebody, a really good male friend, and he'd say, oh my God, he said, I wouldn't be telling anyone that. That was his response. Right. Yeah. And so that was, he said, oh, you'll get sacked if you say anything like that. And so then it was the fear of, I'm going to lose my job, so shut it up. And then you just bottle it all up until, like me, you hop in your car and you drive for 3 days. It was that fight or flight. I just couldn't stay another day. Mm-hmm. And wow. for someone that doesn't really like change and I wasn't very adventurous, to drive anywhere where I didn't know where I was going was scary enough. So to drive across Australia, and we know how big Australia is, and it was 3 different states. It was South Australia, New South Wales, and then Queensland. I just drove.
You're like, I'm out.
That's why I call it the escape from Woomera. That was the place where I was, the township that I was in. The escape from Woomera. I had to get out of that town.
Oh. So let's shift gears here a little, if we can. Again, I just want to thank you for sharing what you've been sharing. I know you've been sharing a lot, and my intention wasn't to dredge up all this stuff, but I want to be respectful of that. So, a lot of people who are listening to this, Tammy, are people who are just starting out on their trauma-informed journey, therapists of all kinds, mentors, coaches. Share with us, if you can, kind of an early clinical error or mistake, or like, what would you say to that? What would you share with us?
The big one was a boundary thing. It was having a friend come to me for therapy and trying to be her therapist as well as maintain a friendship. I was in the early days, and you get excited because you've got all this new knowledge and you want to help, and keeping friendship and professional, I think, need to keep it separate. What I should have done in hindsight, which is always amazing, is sent it to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
It's don't try to save the world. Your friends are probably better off going to someone else.
Okay. So I'm looking at your website here, Holistic Health Services, NT. What does the NT stand for?
Northern Territory. That's
Northern
where,
Territory.
yeah, so the state that I'm in, what is a territory?
Okay. So and then you also have Tammy's Tarot and Healing. Where do you feel like your kind of zone of genius lies in terms of who you can help or you want to help? Who in a sense are your target people?
I've evolved. I really have evolved, and that's where the Holistic Health Services NT has come about. My main target group now is anyone that's been traumatized, be it childhood trauma through to adult trauma, anyone that's been traumatized and has that really, that are just down and out and just really need that deeper work. The tarot side of things, the Reiki side of things, the more spiritual business, which is the older one that's now 7 years old, that had its place because that was part of my healing as I got that up and running, and that was me healing. And so that was just a little bit of guidance for people that would come for a tarot reading that wanted to know when they were going to meet the love of their life, and not the meaty, gritty sort of stuff that I do now. And the Reiki and the hypnotherapy that I was doing back then, because I then learned hypnotherapy and the psychotherapy, that was still, because I was still associated with Tammy's Tarot and Healing, that was still more the gentle sort of stuff and the more spiritual, airy fairy sort of stuff. No disrespect, I don't mean disrespect with the airy fairy comment, it's just the more gentle stuff. Now I'm into the meaty, gritty people that really have been traumatized.
Okay. And what type of services do you offer? Is it in person only? Is it online or what?
It's really interesting. I now do online as well as phone as well as in person. Saturdays only are for my own private clients, because Monday to Friday are, like I said, I am contracted out to government organisations, so they come through to me from their own referral sort of system. So I see that organisation's clients. Does that make sense?
It does. Okay. And so the best way for people to get in contact with you would be through the website, which is www.holistichealthservicesnt.com. The email is admin@holistichealthservicesnt.com. That's probably the best way. Okay.
Or the Facebook group.
Okay. And I'll have, again, each of those linked up here at the show notes page at the traumatherapistpodcast.com. So before we close out here, I kind of want to go all the way back because I realized I forgot to ask you about a quote.
Oh, that's all right.
But I want to get it because you said you had one. What is it?
It is, with the new day comes new strength and new thoughts, by Eleanor Roosevelt. So having listened to what I've been through, you can understand why that quote probably means so much to me.
So with the new day comes new strength and new thoughts?
Yeah. Because it's one day at a time.
Okay. Eleanor Roosevelt. Okay. And in terms of a kind of a go-to book recommendation, what do you have for us?
The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. Okay. An amazing book, and I've been blessed that I've only just come back from a course that he ran here in Brisbane, Australia.
Wow. Was it really? Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, it was just so mind-blowing to me, a doctor of psychiatry that was so open and so honest and sort of talking about getting away from just using drugs to help people. And he was open to different therapies and different, because he's a researcher as well, and he was saying how hard it can be to get funding for research for alternative ways of helping people. It was just really refreshing to hear a doctor in psychiatry actually say drugs aren't necessarily the answer.
Awesome. That's The Body Keeps a Score by Bessel van der Kolk, a previous guest on this podcast. Tammy, it's been a delight having you on here. I mean, you're so inspiring. What you're doing, how you're helping people, sharing your own experience. I want to thank you so much for having you on here, and I'd love to have you back at a later date. We can see how things have evolved for you. But again, I just want to thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Guy. Thank you for giving me a platform to share. Really do appreciate it.
You're welcome. Take care.
Thank you.
Today's episode is brought to you by Audible.com. I've teamed up with Audible.com to bring you a free audiobook when you sign up for a free 1-month trial. This is amazing, and it's a no-brainer. It's so easy. Go to thetraumatherapistproject.com/freebook. That's thetraumatherapistproject.com/freebook. Select your book and enjoy. If at the end of the month you decide the membership isn't for you, it's not working for you for whatever reason, you simply opt out, but you keep your book. They have over 180,000 titles to choose from. It's good on your iPhone, your Android, your tablet, whatever. Look, continually keeping up to date and informed is key in our field. It's crucial. They have classic works such as Trauma and Recovery by Judith Herman, also newer ones like The Body Keeps a Score by Bessel van der Kolk, and the one that I'm going to be recommending today, The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog by Bruce Perry, one of my favorites. Plus, they have an amazing return policy. So get your book by going to thetraumatherapistproject.com/freebook, thetraumatherapistproject.com/freebook, and enjoy.